this is worthy of a separate video. All right, guys. So what's going on is Petapixel, F-Stoppers, a bunch of people have posted a story about a kid, this Max whatever photography, that he was shooting for Color Run, and he's suing Color Run for a lot of money, and the public or the internet jumped down the Color Run's throat. They started posting on Facebook because, okay, I need to back up. Basically what they said is that Color Run took this kid's images without his permission and ended up using it around the world for advertisements without giving the kid the credit that he said that he was owed based on a contract that they had. Now, when that story went public, a lot of people jumped down the throats of Color Run and told them that they're just, I didn't even read the comments because it's not worth reading what people had to say. Now, what I did is I sat back and I read all the articles. I started to read what was going on, what people were saying, what the actual facts were. And I want you people to know out there, stop jumping down, in general, don't jump down people's throats until you know the facts. Jumping on somebody or jumping to conclusions based off of one side of a story is the wrong thing to do until you know what's happening. And we've seen it time and time again where a story comes out, people rip on that person. Then the facts come out and people have to backtrack and be like, oh, I didn't know that. Well, yeah, maybe if you waited until all the facts were out, then you could make an educated judgment. So what we've done here is I have my laptop. I'm going to pop up here, and I want to read some of the information to be better educated.
Yeah.
Now, you can find all the stories over on the website. Follow the link below or click the one that's on the screen right now, and that will take you over there to read all the different articles. So let's see. I hope that was an okay intro, Steven.
Yeah, it was fun.
I'm going to have to move this in front of me.
It's just so much information with this story. It's kind of hard to talk about because
that's true.
There is so much information.
Yeah, I was going to sit here and I was going to attempt to read everything.
It would take probably 20 minutes alone to read all that.
Jeez, there's so much. So where should I start? Basically, this kid, what's his name? His name is Max Photography.
Jackson, right? Max Jackson.
Max's Photography, and I think it's Max Jackson. He got a message. His school that he was in college got permission for non-commercial use or something to go out and shoot a color run, which is a 5K run where they throw color chalk at people or whatever it is.
I wouldn't want to shoot to begin with.
No, I wouldn't want to shoot, and I actually wouldn't want to run through it myself.
Yeah.
But they got permission. So then he gets a message, hey, man, hey, my name is so-and-so, and I manage the photography and videography for the color run. I saw that you got some awesome photos from our last race. Would you be interested in letting us use some of your photos in an album on our Facebook page? We'll link back to your work in the album, in the album. Our other photographers have gotten some good exposure from this, so let us know if you're interested. Thanks. First off, I don't think it's great exposure. I mean, yes, it's nice to get put on somebody else's page, but my photos on Matz's page don't really lead people back to me.
To you, yeah.
It just, I don't think that happens. Oh, and he goes, Max's first response, and this is on his, I guess he set this up, the Color Run sued me.wordpress.com. To put this crap out there, first off, is very childish and immature. You know, first off, doing it this way. Now, I'm not afraid to go to the public for certain things, to call people out when you're in the right. Now, I'm not saying that he's in the right, and I'm not saying that the color run's in the wrong. We'll get to that in a minute. So his response, when the guy asked, he said, of course, I had a great time shooting the event. If you want the high-res versions, I can give you my Flickr because it's the same pictures in better quality. So it goes back and forth, and he ends up uploading the images for them without his watermark.
It's their watermark, I think, right?
Well, without his own personal one, and they asked if it's okay, the color run, if they can put their watermark on his photos. So it all didn't seem to be a problem. So basically, they went back and forth on Facebook, and they downloaded the images, and I'm just scrolling here because there's so much going on here. And he asked them to link to his Facebook page. You can use my maxphotography.com too. It goes to the same place. Oh, wow. I hope his maxphotography.com doesn't target right to Facebook. Perfect. They'll probably be up in the next day or so. Thanks again. This is bad if I'm going to keep reading all this. I don't think I should just sit here and read this stuff.
There's so much.
There's so much going on that you guys have to check this out for yourself, and you have to know the facts. There's both sides of the puzzle here. There's Max's side here saying, basically, he's suing them for $300,000.
But backtrack to what they originally offered him as well.
So let's read the statement from the founder of
let's start there.
of the Color Run. Hi, this is Travis Snyder. I wanted to respond personally to this matter. As the founder of the Color Run, I've had the opportunity to work with many successful creative partnerships of all sizes, including amazing photographers. I respect their ability to capture the essence of our event and fully believe that they deserve the attribution for their work to showcase their talents. We have to backtrack 1 second. Part of the reason a lot of people were ripping on the Color Run and this guy who founded Color Run is he said, I don't care if I have to spend $500,000 to sue you, I will not be extorted.
Yes.
That's me paraphrasing. I don't know if that's the exact quote.
That is pretty much what he said.
But that's pretty much, there you go. The issue with Max is a simple anomaly and quite frankly makes me sad. Max first came to shoot the Color Run because we granted his school class non-commercial access to come shoot the race in Miami where the photos and questions were taken. After this, Max actually ended up working our events over the next year as a non-photographer and traveling and setting up with our traveling teams. So that said that he was a non-photographer. It's very interesting the terms that they're using.
So it seemed like he was just like a staff member.
It just means that he may have been a guy who was just going and taking pictures. So
or a volunteer.
We don't have the contracts to know what the actual contract said between the two of them, if they even had a contract. About a year later, Max first initiated questions about the use of some of the Miami photos. We sat down and genuinely tried to reach an amicable solution, including offering financial compensation and exposure through our networks. Our efforts were declined and met with the following demands. Language taken from legal followings. $100,000 US deposited into my business bank account. This amount went on to be raised by Max to $300,000. That's asinine.
That's
First
insane.
off, using the words like deposited into my bank account. My $100,000 US deposited into my bank account.
That would be nice.
Come on.
But I would never ask for that
to
much.
be named the official photographer, to be named the official photography sponsor of the Color Run globally for the remainder of its existence.
Why would you
That's
even
freaking asinine. You're
involved?
trying to get so much money out of them. They, in your opinion, stole your images, and you still want to work with them. Now, you're
asking for all this money, making a bad relationship between the two of you, and now you want to be their official photographer?
Another thing, Max Jackson's logo to be added in sponsor sections on the bottom of all web pages. Well, I can see added to the sponsor section because if you're the photographer, but the bottom of all pages, no. And I think what Max wanted was in the footer, photography by Max Jackson everywhere. That's just asking for way too much. You're overvaluing what you've done.
Yeah.
They're photos. They're snaps. They're not the greatest photos in the world, right? So let's keep going. My name to read at the bottom of any TCR's photo used in legible print from the next print run forward as photography by Max Jackson. First off, if you're doing commercial work for anybody, they don't publish your name in an advertisement when it comes to being published. Mm-hmm. Your name just doesn't get printed. That's if it's in a magazine, yes. But when I go and I shoot photos for Modest Yahoo and they get the photos that they paid for because they're paying me
for the copyright,
and then they give those to a magazine to run, the magazine most likely is not going to ask for the photo credit. It's going to be courtesy of Modest Yahoo because I did the photos for them.
They paid you to do that.
They paid me to do that. That's what they did. That's what we agreed on. Okay, it gets even better. If no efforts are made within 15 days to contact me, I will be forced to take further action. Understandably, these demands were quite difficult for any organization. They went far outside professional compensation and credit for photography work. We discussed other options, and ultimately, when Max said he was planning to sue rather than continue a dialogue, there was a little option left but to defend our rights through the legal system. I have been and will continue to be at the table to visit about how to resolve this outstanding issue. As hard as it is to see tweets calling me a scumbag, hashtag scumbag, I'm amazed by the internet and its ability to give everyone a voice. I also appreciate the opportunity to share more information and insight into a complex situation. My personal hope and intentions has always been to get this resolved directly, amicably, and fairly, Travis. So it doesn't say that we didn't use his images without permission, which seems like they didn't get permission. Now, let's look at both sides of this. when Max saw that the images were being used at a sports authority without with the Color Runs logo and not his, which it shouldn't have his, he asked them for compensation. He came to the table asking for $100,000 as a negotiating
I thought
tactic.
it was $30,000 at first.
No. He asked for $100,000 as a negotiating tactic, and this is all on his website that he put up that says what he asked for and why he wanted more. So they came to the table to talk. Now I understand when somebody's using your images that out of context, they asked first if they could use them online to put their logos on it, and he gave them permission to do that, and he gave them the high-res images to use. So what I think happened, and has happened to me before, is that once the images get internally into a company, they're set into a photo folder or something that people can use for publication or for press, right? So then somebody who doesn't know and didn't take the time to find out if they have the rights to use the images may have used them or said, this is a great image for this sports authority thing. And then they sold it or gave them permission to run it or made money off of it. So the Color Run people didn't acknowledge that they didn't have permission to use it.
Yeah, they didn't even bring that up.
So by sitting down at the negotiating table, which the Color Run did, they're kind of acknowledging that they made a mistake, but they came to the table. The letter that this kid wrote and the citing that his dad is a web designer and he's consulted these people, the letter is a joke. The way that he handled himself, he's young, and it comes across as being young. We've all been there, and we've all done things that we would change in the future. But just reading the letter, yes, write a letter. Hey, it looks like you used some of my pictures for what you weren't supposed to use them for. Can we sit down and discuss some options? I really think I should be compensated because that was outside of the norm. Instead of this whole legalese thing, come to the table without threatening to sue. Because as soon as you threaten to sue or just start threatening anything,
never goes your way.
People's defense mechanisms go up.
Yep.
So anyway, they sat down at the table, which to me is acknowledging that they shouldn't have used the image, and they offered him $30,000.
Which is, I feel
$30,000 in compensation, as well as probably being still working for the company.
I think they said that, they would still let him work
still
for it and
work
everything.
for the company, and he wanted his name at the bottom of every single page in the footer. And that was one thing they didn't want to do. And when they said they didn't want to do that, he said they could tell that this was not just about money. It's about getting the recognition I should have gotten for the photos. Stop overvaluing yourself and thinking that your worth in those images is worth more than this company who gave you a job, who allows you to travel with them. I don't know the contract that he signed. Does it say that all images that they take while you're hired by Color Run become Color Run's property? That is a possibility.
I think that's the only thing we didn't see, right, is the contract?
We don't see. I don't even know. There must be a contract that they signed, but he wasn't a photographer. He was part of the traveling band that just helped, and he ended up taking pictures there.
Yep.
So while he's working for the company, do those images become the company's property because he's getting paid by the company? That's not for me to figure out. That's just for me to ask that question. But saying that you want your name at the bottom of every single freaking page in the footer, first off, the footer doesn't mean crap. I know that there's stuff in my footer that it gets maybe clicked 5 times a day at most to whatever the person is down there. And it's not,
I don't ever look at it personally.
All photo, it just come to the table. They offered you $30,000.
I would have took the money
a mistake.
and ran.
Right? They shouldn't have used your image.
Mm-hmm.
But if you really thoroughly enjoyed working with them, like the letter said, and you want to have an amicable, why would you go? How are you going to go back and work for them now?
I could never.
You just now became, are you trying to make a name for yourself and just sue the hell out of them and try to make a big deal? And it talks about how they got pro bono lawyers to be on their side, and lawyers are going to take up anything because some of those lawyers that just love doing this. They love getting out there and creating a scene. Not all lawyers, some. And I just the moral of the story is know the facts before you go out there and take a side. I'm leaning more towards before I say that they're countersuing Max.
I was going to say, yeah.
So they're countersuing because they say that he was employed on his Facebook page by the Color Run. Now, I don't know that that's breach of contract or false advertising.
I didn't think that was a big deal.
If Facebook gives you the option to say you're working for, and if Facebook doesn't allow us to verify, that somebody does work for you, then...
Well, it's not like you're using it on like your official resume or something, applying for jobs.
Right, so I don't know that. The countersuit, I don't know that they have much of a countersuit. I think the thing here is they used photos they shouldn't have used. He wants to get compensated. They sat down and negotiated. They offered $30,000 for the image. He said they've been seen millions of times around the world, both in print and electronically. So the hell what?
And he upped the ante to $300,000.
Well, after he said that he now wanted $300,000,
which I think is just way too much.
That's when the color run people said, "Screw you guys, I'm going home. We're just going to countersue you and try to pound you into the ground.
We're going to lay down the law
with corporate might." So I think that people jumped to conclusion, Matt, way too quick, as always, and ripped on these people. They shouldn't have used his photos that way. I just think it was a miscommunication again. A young kid giving them permission to use the images on the website with permission. Lines get blurred lines.
I mean, yeah.
Hey. I just think lines get blurred.
I definitely think the color run is obviously at fault to begin with using his photo without permission, obviously. But I also think that asking $100,000 and then coming back with $300,000 when he could have easily settled with $30,000 and still been in good communication with the company,
still get credit.
Yeah,
still put.
I would have easily took that offer.
They wanted to put a social. He wanted to be called
greedy, asking for that.
Being greedy is asking to be the official photographer for all time standing. You can't sit there and try to. In my opinion, extort money out of them because they're both thinking that they're being extorted at this point. Yeah, I get it. $100,000 was a negotiating tactic, and they offered you $30,000. That's a hell of a lot more money that you will make off of any photo shoot at a color run.
Well, and I wonder how this will affect his reputation too.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
How does your reputation survive something like this? It's just all the facts are coming out. I think that he was young. He gave them permission to use the images. The images then went internally into the color run, and somehow they ended up on an advertisement.
Yeah.
They haven't publicly acknowledged that they shouldn't have used those images, but by offering him money and compensation is pretty much saying that, yes, they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But they came to the table, they offered to rectify the situation in good standing, and he went bent out of shape, talking to lawyers, and just asking for too much. I've had this happen to me. People have used my images that they shouldn't have used. I've ended up using it as a negotiating chip to continue doing work or get something else in the future. They made a mistake, and it happened. You know how many times my images have been published and they forgot. And this forgot to put the byline.
Mine as well.
It happens all the time. They forget to put the byline, and they should have. And you could come back and say, well, it's in the contract that if you don't use my byline, you owe me $10,000. They'd probably get it right if you did that. But I think you have more to win by sitting there and saying, you know what, you guys made a mistake. What I'd like to do is be your official photographer. Yeah. Can you compensate me? But you know what? It happens. We're still good. I appreciate that you guys gave me a job.
We're human, you know?
I'm only human. That's the new Christina Perri song. I bleed when I fall down. I'm only human.
It sounds like another song. I just can't think of which song it sounds like.
Have you heard the song?
Yeah, you play it all the time.
Oh, I play Christina Perri. I bought a ticket to her show. Instead of asking her for one, I just bought one.
That's April, right?
It's in April,
Philly,
yeah. So I think we should move on from the color run thing. Moral of the story, don't jump to conclusions. Find out all the facts before you jump down somebody's throat and call them a scumbag, because there's always multiple sides to every single story.
And I'm sure by the time this goes live, there's going to be even more facts out there that we didn't read up on yet. But at the time, this is what we know.
Exactly. So we're just trying to point out the facts to you, give our opinions, because this is all in our opinion.
Yeah.
And if you want to read up on all the stories, all the links are over to the website. F-Stoppers has done a fantastic job covering it.
Because he wrote specifically to them.
Yeah. They wrote, which is good. I didn't read the thing on Petapixel, but I don't know if any of these people just jumped down their throats and said that these guys were doing the wrong thing. As a journalist, you can't just... You have to know the facts before you jump down people's throats. All right, Stephen. That was a needed conversation.
It was.
We had to do that.